Santa. This is Kate Pierce. I've been really good this year. I do say bad words every now and then, but that's only when my brother Teddy makes fun of me and I lose my temper. Let go, you're gonna break it!
Who cares? This camera's like 20 years old.
I have to work.
It's Christmas Eve.
You're gonna stay home with your sister.
We should make a video. Maybe we could get a shot of Santa Claus.
You really have no clue, do you? Nobody's ever seen Santa Claus!
Tell me you're getting this.
Hello! Welcome back to the Waffle Press. Not directly a retrospective. I am reincorporating something I used to do on this channel, where I would bring on a solo guest and we would talk about movies. Nick and Gene will eventually start bringing on people. We're going to introduce one-on-one conversations, one-off episodes about a movie that means a lot to someone or gave someone a reaction in a positive or negative way. This has to be a movie that you have to grab someone by the shoulders and say, hey, watch this because we need to talk about it. So what better way to introduce this series than with Matt Garingo, who I've never even met in person, but through text, he basically grabbed me by the shoulders and said, hey.
I said, Diego, what time is it? What time is it? It's Christmas time! We're going to talk about the Christmas Chronicles.
Merry Christmas, everyone. This will be released on the week of Christmas, Monday morning, because that's a
all you thing, sad right? Fuckers alone at Christmas, here's a podcast.
Hell yeah. Maybe a day before. I don't know. I don't even know what day it falls on
whatever.
This year, so whatever. But no, the Christmas Chronicles, starring Kurt Russell as the one and only Saint Nicholas.
Although he's technically not Saint Nicholas.
Oh no, that's correct. He makes it very clear that he's not technically.
He makes a big stink about it. Santa in this movie has some problems with God. So that's an element of this film that someone wanted made, and so it was me.
Would you like to give a brief description of the movie, or would you like?
I don't know how I could be brief about this.
Okay, I will do my best to be brief in 30 seconds. Okay. The Christmas Chronicles stars Kurt Russell, directed by Clay Catus, whose only previous directing credit, I believe, is the Angry Birds film. And it's about a family that has trouble sticking together through the holidays, specifically a young brother and sister, through their journey to survive Christmas Eve alone without their mother, who's forced to work. They run afoul of Santa Claus and have to unite to save Christmas. And that's a very generic Christmas sort of like Hallmark special holiday type thing. There's nothing wrong with that, you know. Like I like my soap stuff every once in a while.
It is pretty goddamn generic at the end of the day. And
oh no, it totally is.
Then it has one amazing trump card, and then it just builds off of that into complete insanity.
Before you reveal what that trump card is. I would like to say that right off the bat, I didn't understand why you wanted me to watch this. It's shot like an ABC Family special. I don't even know if ABC Family is still a channel. Yeah. And I think we even talked about it on like the last Halloween episode we did together. Like, you know, we got little soft spots in our hearts for those. Not everything needs to be like fucking It's a Wonderful Life. You know, like one.
Yeah. Well, I will say I fucking love Christmas movies. I love Christmas specials. I love like even the really bad ones. Like I'm talking about like embarrassingly bad ones. Like there's an animated film version of like Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer.
Oh, I could never do it.
And
with
it's not good in any way, and I don't like it. But I've seen it like more times than is socially acceptable. And yeah, I love Christmas time. I love Christmas movies. So when I saw this, I was like, I gotta watch that. And I was a little upset because, like, again, yeah, like the first, I would say like 15, 20 minutes of this movie are pretty damn generic. Um, to a point of like frustration, but whatever.
Yeah, I was like, I don't get this. I knew Kurt Russell was Santa Claus, obviously, so I was like, I'm holding out for that, and then whatever. I'll let Matt take
That
over
was
the
kind of what
episode.
it was for me watching it the first time. It was like, I'm gonna see how he does as Santa, and then maybe I'll just watch his scenes, and then I'll stop. But we should mention the setup because there's a lot going on in the setup actually. Like it starts hitting you with cliche after cliche, where it's a home video opening of like Christmas every year with this fucking sickening family.
It opens the same way as Justice League. I just thought that was.
Oh my God, you're right. Oh my God.
So I was just like,
Visionary director Zack Snyder.
oh no, this is your boy. That was your boy who changed that,
Was that
Joss Whedon.
just I don't like Whedon.
Yeah, that was. I know, I was joking.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think people judge me in ways I do not like.
No. I was joking. I know you're not a fan anymore.
Okay,
So
you know what though?
yeah.
Yeah, that does seem like a Whedon thing.
Anyways, we're not gonna get into that.
They changed a lot of that movie.
Some of it's his fault, and then that movie's basically a disaster across the board.
I don't think it could have ever worked, especially when it was supposed to be two films. But anyway,
Yeah, no, that
uh,
we will talk about that more in the coming year in
yeah,
2019, but in a different context.
we
So
might.
let's.
I might feel burned out enough that I will overrule discussing Justice League, but we'll see where we're at.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, this home video. There's this dad who's like super into Christmas, and he's got an older boy and a younger girl, and we're introduced to some things like hug it out, which is what happens when the kids fight. They're supposed to hug it out. Reindeers love candy canes. Okay. And one year, as a gift, the son gets a knife, which is the first part where you're like, all right, this is going to be a little different. And on the knife, it said, Pierce always sees it through. Pierce is the name of the family, not like a stab wound.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't mean
Although
stab.
the implications definitely there
It
on
doesn't mean
accident.
pierce completely through a human being. It means, to work it through, get to the end of your problem. Don't give up in the middle, which might be the theme of this film. And I should say the older boy is a Patriots fan, but I'm not going to hold that against him, even though hell awaits Patriots fans. And then we find out the dad is dead. Dad died. He was a firefighter. He died in a fire. Because that's a thing I guess people think children want to see in movies.
Like I'm fine with that. It's just the way it all plays out. It's very soap opera-y. Like the lighting's even like that soft overlit kind of look.
Well, I just think we need to talk about as a culture. When did it become a cliche for children's adventure films to involve dead parents?
I think that was a Disney thing.
It's Disney.
At least they normalized it.
Yeah, but even then, that goes back to like Grimm's fairy tales. So the reason for this video opening is that the girl is leaving a videotape message to Santa, and yeah, the beginning of this is rough, I will say, because it's like kind of
Yeah,
obnoxious kid acting.
and we haven't really sold it up to this point. What we're talking about it. Um, but please stick around.
Yeah, we should just say a couple more weird things so we can get to the good stuff. The brother has lost the Christmas spirit, of course. He comes very close to telling his younger sister that there is no Santa, but stops himself. Also, he's somewhat of a criminal.
Well, doesn't he steal a car with his
Yes,
friends?
and it's kind of just like laughed off by the end of the film.
Yeah,
I think that was a
like
little.
there's like I get it. When you're a kid, you're an idiot. I've never stolen a car, so I think that one might be a little specific to this story. Like, I don't know. There are far worse crimes to participate in, but also
All right, I gotta get through this bullshit setup. The mother has to work at the hospital, and the kids are pissed off that the mother is gonna work at a hospital on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, sorry, she's gonna save fucking lives.
Yeah, how dare you, Mom? That's something that pisses me off. I think I've mentioned this on the show, but like, I had a single parent, and I understood that my dad had a fucking job. Like, it never bothered me that he had to go to work. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, my parents were divorced, and so oftentimes I'd be at one house or the other when I was younger. They'd work late, or I'd by myself for a little while. Like, it's kids understand that,
Yeah.
like
Kids do
they're
fine.
not idiots.
It's all the other shit that sticks with them that you don't intend. I should mention that like there's a moment where anytime the father gets mentioned around the mother like kind of almost has a breakdown.
Yeah, it's like comedic.
Not really. It's like
No, it's not supposed to be, but like the way it impacts her, it's like too much.
well, speaking of shit that like kids are gonna remember, they're not gonna remember the times you had to work. They are gonna remember the time you had a breakdown in front of them. Like when they're just pushed to the limit and they're like, God damn it. So yeah, so the mom's working at the hospital and the little girl's like, hey, older brother, you're forced to watch me. They find a videotape and Santa might be on the videotape. I don't think that ever really makes sense that like he would be on the camera at that time. But whatever, it doesn't matter. Honestly, this movie's much better than most films, than like most fucking mainstream movies that like set up and pay off. There's a lot of stuff set up early.
I have that in my notes too. I didn't want to bring it up until the very end, just in case I derailed the whole thing. The simplicity and like perfection of a movie, just simply like setting up and paying stuff off throughout its runtime and building upon it for character and theme, is something that I think a lot of modern movies just aren't allowed to do, given the way bigger movies are made
The
nowadays.
way everything's an
Unfortunately,
assembly line now.
yeah, and so when it happens, it's like, oh, it's a godsend, And so once that started happening with this movie, I was like, hang on, and it's already fucking crazy by the time that actually starts happening. So I was like, okay, this is. I would recommend this movie to people. In fact, I demand you watch it.
Just thinking about it, what was the last Marvel film that had some good setup and payoff in it?
Black Panther. Black Panther had. It's not like groundbreaking.
Well,
But,
no, I'm not expecting groundbreaking. I'm just expecting it to exist.
Yeah, no. Black Panther, Thor Ragnarok, Homecoming. I don't really remember much in that. Like in terms of that, and I like that movie.
No, I mean,
and Volume 2.
I like those movies, but I can't remember like if there was like, like Jack Burton, All in the Reflexes or something like that.
Yeah, no. Like, we just lost the great William Goldman.
Oh yes.
One of the greatest maybe the greatest screenwriter of all time, Princess Bride.
Yeah.
Butch Cassidy, etc. And that was like effortless from him.
Oh yeah. And it's embarrassing that no one like really could ever be as good as him at times,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's embarrassing that this movie like was really like I think I really responded to the fact that it wasn't just a movie where we go from scene to scene to scene. Like stuff like flows in and out of the movie, which seems to happen less and less these days.
Yeah, like not to just derail it for the Marvel thing again. I brought up all those Marvel movies that I think have at least solid payoff and setup. And then, but before all those, like, because we've talked about it, the 2017 run of Marvel movies was pretty solid, It kind of ends with Black Panther being the last, like, great one. But pretty solid for like 4 movies, I think.
Yeah.
And then all the other ones are kind of like, it comes and goes. It comes in waves,
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that one was really good. And then, this one, not so much.
Mm-hmm.
So, but besides those, I mean, it's fucking difficult.
I guess you could say Into the Spider-Verse did some pretty good shit.
Into the Spider-Verse is. I'm not gonna. It's. Please go watch that movie too.
Yeah, go watch.
I'm not gonna.
People.
I'm not gonna.
Do not
explode on this podcast.
Don't go see it in a Regal theater because they do not know how to fucking project anything. Fuckers.
Do you realize how big of a deal this is? We need to get a closer look.
Are you crazy? Duck!
Can he see us?
I don't think so.
Hop, Cupid! Hop, Comet! Hop! Ah! Hold on to something!
Santa Claus?
5 and in person. One night only.
Can you go ho ho ho?
I don't go ho ho ho. That's a
I
myth.
guess we're talking about the Santa movie.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They catch an image of Santa on the camera.
And it springboards into almost like a kind of Home Alone style caper, like with the kids
Which makes
setting up
sense.
little shenanigans around their house. Not traps really, but they just want
There is this
they want
the
evidence.
classic. Later in the film, there's a classic slip on ice gag that is from those Home Alone movies.
I only remember the first one and the second one because of the cameo.
You don't remember anything about Home Alone 2?
It's in New York and
Tim Curry's in it, man.
yeah, I don't remember.
It's not good.
Oh, okay.
Home Alone in general isn't that good. I'm sorry, America. It's not the best. Fuck Old Man Marley. Seriously.
Okay,
All right,
so
what the fuck did Old Man Marley say to his kids?
I don't know.
Those movies they just assume that like, oh, he didn't say anything that was that detrimental.
Like, what if he was like homophobic?
Yeah. Like, what if like someone's like, "Hey, I'm gay," like, he's like, "I won't say
And then he was like, "Get out of my house."
yeah. I mean, or it's sometimes that shit isn't supposed to be mended.
Yeah. The great Near Dark film has a small line where they're driving with a trucker, and he's like, "Oh, you kids ran away from home? No, that's okay. Sometimes home is bad." And it's just a little line, and you think it's meant for Kayla, but it's actually meant for May in that scene, and that line always stuck with me. I was like, "Oh yeah, movies don't really address that." It'd be nice if more of them did, Not everyone.
I like how you always bring up Near Dark,
Oh, it's so fucking good.
and then I always try to find a way to bring up some atrocity. I'm not sure if I have one for this one, but
Thank God.
so yeah, they do set up traps for Santa. They kind of work, and they realize they get footage of Santa hopping from house to house. Honestly, it's a little. You kind of have to get past this very unbelievable part of a Santa Claus film,
Yeah,
which is
like,
that this has never happened to Santa before, apparently.
Yeah, there I was kind of rolling my eyes.
But to be fair, also we're recommending this movie, so I think you should go check it out before we give away everything.
Oh yeah, no. Let's lead into the next section because after this is where the movie just takes off.
Yeah.
And like never really stops.
If you have Christmas cookies to make, just put this on in the background while you're making the cookies. It'll be great.
Kids are gonna love this. If you got kids for I don't know. Yeah.
Kids will like it. And really sad 25-year-olds will.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we're talking about it.
And I'm saying this because the ending of the movie implies Santa kind of knew all of this was going to happen. That he kind of let it happen to give the Christmas spirit back to this family in need of it. Seemed to be very risking a lot for one family.
Yeah.
But so these kids, they sneak on the Santa sleigh. Shit goes wrong. Santa freaks out, and he's like, "Ah!" And they all crash. The reindeer get separated. They drop Santa's sack, and Santa loses his hat, which ends up being important. And that's when we finally get Kurt Russell Santa, which is this film's trump card because it's like perfect casting. And he is so committed to this version of Santa.
And he doesn't say ho ho ho.
He does. He gets very pissed off when you imply it.
And he's very touchy about his weight.
He doesn't like that marketing portrays him as a fat slob. He thinks that's his words, not mine. A big fat slob. And he's very, he's like, yeah, I eat a lot of cookies, but there's a lot of work. He doesn't.
It's an old-fashioned Santa.
Very old-fashioned.
He grew up in less open-minded times.
You should say that he calls ho 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 fake news.
Yeah,
which was a moment where I went, oh no. But luckily, that's the only moment that happens.
Yeah, that keeps happening with Netflix productions. They say that in one line in Daredevil in the last season, and I was just like, please don't.
Pop
don't
culture doesn't know how to deal with Trump.
No, they have no idea.
We're not going to know how to deal with it for a while.
Yeah.
Like, it's honestly, I would go back, honestly, watch stuff that was produced while Nixon was still in office versus after he was impeached or like, forced to resign. Like those images of Nixon are very different. So it says a lot. Um, Although speaking of the fake news thing, um, there's a really weird thing that goes on in right-wing circles where they try to claim certain celebrities as Trump supporters. Have you noticed this?
Not really, but
Because
I've tried to tune it out like as much as healthily possible because you got to be aware, but like,
someone I
fuck.
was Kurt Russell came up at some gathering of people, and someone was like, "Oh, you like Kurt Russell? Did you know he's a big supporter of Donald Trump?" And I'm like, that doesn't seem right. Like, I mean, I understand like celebrities tend to have really weird politics that you have to usually ignore, but it just didn't seem. And like, if you look it up, there's Snopes articles debunking that he's endorsed Donald Trump because it's like a very popular thing that Kurt Russell is pro-Trump, and they do this with like a lot of different celebrities. It's just so odd to me because like Trump supporters like they hate Hollywood and they feel like they're elitists and out of touch with America, but then they desperately want its approval.
I mean, it really is just a symptom of Trump, like as a person too, where he'll criticize things where he can't get validation from, but he'll also never stop trying to get validation from those places and people.
We really
You
are
know?
in the middle of like the saddest, most detrimental example of a father not loving his son. Like he's desperately wants his father to say he loves him, and it's just not going to happen. Like it's kind of sad if it wasn't going to destroy all of us.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Manhunter thing. Like you mourn for the child that it was, but now like they need to basically be stopped at
Yeah.
all
Yeah,
costs.
basically.
Yeah. Uh, but anyways, Kurt Russell as Santa. Before the disaster happens, or while the disaster's happening, where they lose the sleigh, the deers, the hat, and the Santa's sack of goodies. When when Santa's traveling across the world, they address that in a manner I never thought I'd
Oh
see
yeah.
in a Christmas movie. In that he travels through what appears to be an interdimensional wormhole through time and space to reach cities and towns faster across the globe.
Well, the hat itself that he loses and that like becomes a big problem because that means he can't immediately go find everything. The hat itself seems to break all laws of physics.
Yeah.
So,
But let me reiterate, Santa Claus travels through interdimensional wormholes to reach portions of the globe and its inhabitants.
yes.
I just I feel like that should be remembered throughout history because that is so funny. And I that's when the movie got me.
Although
I was like, "Holy shit."
guess what though? Plot hole, this movie's ruined. If you can open up wormholes in time and space, why can he not just travel back in time and do all the Christmas shit? Don't you know physics? People making the Christmas Chronicles.
It's okay because even in that sense, the movie makes sure to point out that Santa basically made all of it up
Yeah.
to give the family back their Christmassy moods.
That's why
So,
I'm playing a
you know,
character right now of guy
no, I
who
know.
doesn't understand plot holes. Why doesn't Snoke's ship have better armor? That was an actual complaint, by the
You
way.
serious?
Yes.
People are fucking stupid.
Yeah, I don't mean like wherever you fall in that movie, if you don't like it, I honestly that's fine, but don't be fucking dumb about it.
Yeah, like I posted that tweet about like if you spend time writing worst of or most overrated of the year lists, like like that ain't a writer worth their salt. I don't think some people do it for bigger publications, whatever. I know it gets hits and people get paid for it. It's different if you get paid for it. If you're just some fucking nerd on Twitter, like
Yeah,
do
yeah.
something better with your time. And so I just have all these quote tweets and like replies and being like, "Hey man, like I think it's totally okay if someone wants to shit on something basically. Like you don't like criticism if you say that."
I think
It's like fucking
people
doesn't
that are
fucking
really into like worst of the year lists, they remind me of like there was a time, I think I've mentioned this. There was a time where I felt like I needed to see every single movie that was in theaters. And now like I don't feel that way. And I just go see movies that like somewhat interest me, or like people I trust say are good. And when that happens, it like you don't have enough bad movies in the year to make a worst of list. You know?
Yeah.
Like this has been a long year, so I'm probably forgetting some stuff, but I really haven't seen anything that like I hated, you know?
Yeah.
Um, I think if I had
Well,
seen Bohemian Rhapsody, I think it would justify making a worst of the year list just to put that movie on it.
yeah.
But
Like, and again, that's like a different circumstance too, because that like the politics behind that movie, of how it was made, and like what's on the screen, which I know you know nothing about because you haven't seen, but like it's
I know
it's
enough 'cause
gross and worth like
I've
calling
read
it.
a lot of
Oh yeah, well I mean it's all out there. You're right,
yeah.
but like that's it's a very specific like sort of criticism. Whereas like I don't care if someone doesn't like the same movies as me, and I think that's some of the reads that have been happening around that mentality against like worst of the year lists and whatnots. Like it's I think people misunderstand like the purpose of film criticism in a big way.
Yeah, well, because everything's now points. It's like I say, like people treat movies like bingo. Like if you get 5 points in a row, you win. Like,
Yeah.
and that's not a way to watch movies. And
hmm
and people like they feel like they gotta beat them. And I think we've raised a generation that like they just watch. I don't like. It feels condescending to say people watch movies wrong, but I think we have a lot of people watching movies wrong.
Yeah.
Like, like to me, it's we keep bringing up Star Wars, but whatever. Like Last Jedi, like I understand why some people might not like that movie. I don't understand why anyone would like hate that movie or say it ruins Star Wars. You know? Like not enough
Yeah.
happens in it for it to ruin Star Wars. It's just that's a little I don't know. And so on some level I get it because I was that way like even not that long ago. But at the same time I'm like I don't know. When I see people older than me acting that way, it creeps me out a little. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like even if their like career is in film criticism,
Shout
if
out,
that's like
shout out to the In Snyder, or whatever the
uh,
fuck that guy's name is.
that guy is such a fucking hack and just a generally like bad person. Fuck you,
Yeah,
dude.
he's a what a sad, sad little man.
Yeah. That Kurt Russell Santa needs to like show up on his doorstep and be like, "Hey,
Well,
man."
that's where we get the best stuff in this movie because all right, so Santa doesn't have the hat, so he can't go. He can't find the reindeer. He can't find his magical sack. It always sounds weird. I sorry, it sounds weird to always say sack. I don't know.
No, it does.
I wish I was more mature,
I'm not.
but it just it is. Um, but so he's like, hey, if I don't get these things back, I'm not gonna be able to deliver all the presents on Christmas. And the last time I wasn't able to do this, the Dark Ages happened. And you're like, what the fuck? So you're like, holy shit. Like the fate of the world rests on one guy not fucking up. And you're like, you're damn right Mrs. Claus told you to bring a spare hat. Like, why didn't you listen to her?
Like at that point, I thought the movie was gonna like veer into like, oh, this Santa's actually having kind of a midlife crisis, so he helps the kids and they help him in a way.
Yeah.
That's not what happened
No, he
because
was
the whole
just
thing's a
very
ruse. But
careless
like,
about the most important job on earth.
yeah,
Like, he should have 8 hats at the ready.
there should be compartments in the sleigh. He should have one in his boots.
There should be one stored in every single town in the world he's going to visit, just in case.
There's no reason for that not to be like the scenario.
And guess what? He's got a fucking full year every year to do this. So,
And he has like a battalion of elves to
Yeah.
help him. So
send them
Like,
in. We'll get to those.
yeah.
elves.
Oh my God, will we?
So now Santa's like, we need transportation. And we can't let Christmas cheer get too low. A la Elf. This actually kind of
Yeah.
reminded me a lot of Elf.
It did. I think Elf's a little better directed.
Elf's
but-
better directed, but Elf also has like a very generic Christmas story going on in it
Yeah.
that is
it's-
saved by a performance in the middle of it, which is Will Ferrell as that elf is so fucking goddamn funny.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell's Santa is just amazing. And
Oh my God, my brain's doing something.
Mm.
What if they made a sequel to Elf and crossed it over with the Christmas Chronicles?
oh my God, that would be incredibly strange because there's very different elf cultures.
Oh no, there because now we've already established that the sleigh can open interdimensional wormholes. You do Crisis on Infinite Earth,
With
but with
Christmas films.
Christmas.
So it's
Yes.
Elf, Miracle on 34th Street, Krampus.
Oh my God, yeah.
Just throw them all together. Arthur
Yeah,
Christmas.
and the Krampus is gaining too much power,
Oh
and so
God.
it's starting to hop over to other Christmas
Yeah,
realms.
he's destroyed entire realms, and he has to be stopped. And we got to team up with fucking Heat Miser and Snow Miser and Baby New Year, the Winter Warlock, who's like a neutral party. That'd be interesting.
Yeah,
Just keep Tim
I
Allen.
really just want to.
Just keep
Oh yeah,
Tim
fuck
Allen
that.
fucking far away.
I basically just want to see Kurt Russell and Will Ferrell in a movie together now, but
Yeah,
I digress.
I would love to see more Kurt Russell Santa. I just got to say.
I'm pretty sure they're doing a sequel.
'Cause
Apparently, this is kind of a sleeper hit for
yeah,
Netflix.
it should be. I just hope they really take more advantage because the best scene in this movie is the scene I'm about to describe, which is now they need a ride, and Santa walks into this restaurant and just starts dropping Santa science on people. Like he knows everything about everyone. He knows what gifts they wanted, what dreams they've had, and he gets to the point where he convinces the one waitress. She's like, "Hey, take all my tips. You can get a cab." But Santa's like, "Nope. I'm not going to take your tips. You need them more than I do. I might start the second Dark Ages, but keep your tips. Santa has standards."
This is a very sappy, like melodramatic Christmas movie with a really great Kurt Russell performance and weird like eccentricities, but I think it does have like a very sincere like approach to it that's easy to get won over by, because like that moment where the waitress who's working on Christmas Eve
Yep.
offers her tips and Santa says no. That was one of the moments in the movie where I was like, hey, oh, this is very nice.
Well, just the
It's
fact
nice to see a movie with that humanity in it.
I really like the scene because like Santa, he's a little goofy in this. He's like, "Can I pay for a cab with fucking candy canes?" And I'm like, "No, Santa, you can't do that." But he does like kind of like he's like, I love, you know what's a great, this is why it's great, because it's like a line that really doesn't matter, but Kurt Russell delivers it so well, where the waitress goes, "You could take Uber," and he just kind of shrugs and goes, "Don't have an account." And it's like so endearing. Like it's a nothing line, but the way he does it, you're like, it wins you over. Um, and then he can also like speak different languages, a la Miracle on 34th Street, or Kramer Santa. But that had one moment I did not enjoy in this film, which, you know, like he's kind of running up to people like speaking. He speaks Japanese, I believe, to a couple, and they kind of blow him off. And then he I forget who he goes up to next, and he speaks and the guy's like, "I speak English, jerk." And I'm like, why would he be angry for someone to talk to him in his native language?
Yeah,
You know?
I feel like this is a very whitely written movie.
Oh yes.
Does that make sense?
Oh, it's very white. I mean,
yeah.
there's some very moralized, like white morals going on in it.
Yeah.
I mean, any movie that kind of just goes like, "Why can't we all just get along?" tends to be whitey.
Yeah.
So, but it never gets that bad. It's not like bad John Hughes, you know, like when
Yeah. Oh man.
gets really moralistic in his films.
Yeah. I'm sorry. John Hughes movies, I've realized are just not for me.
I still like some of them, and by some of them I mean the ones with John Candy in them, because John Candy
Yeah.
can just win me over. But like Uncle Buck's a really fucked up movie when you break down what's going on in it.
Oh yeah, it's hilarious,
It's-
and I love. There you go. I love Uncle Buck. But
Yes.
that's a topic for another
I
time.
love Uncle Buck. I love Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which is a Thanksgiving film, not a Christmas film. Stop it, streaming services. But yeah, that might be my favorite scene in the movie is just Kurt Russell in that restaurant. It's like very brief. I wanted more of that. Um, and there's some of it later, but the way it's done in the restaurant was my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah, I kind of would have liked a little more too. But and this is another credit to this movie is that there's never really a wasted moment after that long
Yeah,
introduction.
there's a couple moments that drag here and there, but it's never like there's never a point where like the fun just stops completely. You know?
Yeah, like by this point the film's taken off and it basically keeps up the momentum
Yeah.
like all the way through. Yeah, it does it sputters here and there, but it never stops dead in its tracks again. The weirdness kind of just
Oh
continues.
yeah, it gets very strange. Um, and we should mention that what happens after is we, of course, because we ran into a bunch of people that Santa knows, and Santa's being friendly with them, be like, "Oh, hey, I remember how you always wanted this gift, and oh, you were always good. I hope whatever works out for you." And then, of course, there's got to be the one guy who's like, "Hey, jerk, get out of the restaurant." And then he's like, "Oh, I remember you, naughty list, whatever." Like, so there's always the one person who's on the naughty list every year. And of course, this person's a criminal who's been stealing cars. And they steal a stolen car because Santa's like, all right, that's kind of not stealing. Santa's got a moral gray area, which he
Yeah.
likes to, because when the kid goes like, hey, don't you break in the houses every year? He's like, fair enough.
Yeah.
So
Like the saying like two wrongs don't make a right. This film is taking the stance that maybe sometimes they do.
to save Christmas, it's okay to steal a stolen car. And they get,
I mean, they do say that they intend to drop it off at the police station when they're done,
Mhm.
but then Santa Claus gets in a car chase with
Police
the
officer.
Chicago Police Department, and it's incredible.
Yes. Just a car chase with Santa. I mean, what more could you want?
And at one point, he's just laughing hysterically in this poor kid's face, just like he's having the time of his life. This kid's screaming, just like holding on for dear life.
Yeah, Santa's got a wild streak in this movie.
Oh yeah, like again, I thought they were just gonna go full fledged like Santa's having a midlife crisis. He's 4,500 years old now,
Yeah,
or some shit.
he doesn't have an arc in this.
No, he doesn't.
That's fine, honestly. But
It's just so much fun to watch Kurt Russell be this weird ass Santa Claus.
yeah, I mean, Kurt Russell just. I think the thing that I like about Kurt Russell is he kind of is the same guy in every movie. Like even when like it's just different degrees of Kurt Russell usually. But he's always like very committed and like shows up to do his job, which I've seen a lot of actors who don't do that. And it's refreshing when you see an actor, even for a film like this, who's like, I'm gonna be the fucking best Santa I can be in this fucking goddamn Netflix movie. And it's just outstanding. Um, so Santa gets arrested by the cops, and he kind of he does something to let the kids get away, and the reindeer to distract the cops so the kids can get away. Can you name Santa's reindeer?
uh, Comet, Cupid, Donner, Vixen, Blitzen, Rudolph. Am I missing? I'm missing
You're
some.
missing
Huh?
some.
Fuck. I
Dasher,
can't anymore.
Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon.
No.
um, Comet, Cupid, Donner, Blitzen,
Yeah.
Carter,
There you go.
Reagan, Bush, and Clinton.
But I also want to give a shout out to Lamorne Morris, who is from New Girl and was one of the police officers. He's the one who sees the reindeer take off and tries to convince the other police officers.
The kids, there's a slow moment after this where the kids end up at a church. They don't go in the church. It always seems weird to me when they try and mix like Christianity and Santa Claus. You know?
Yeah,
Uh,
just because like I think people recognize like the Saint Nick, and I think they mix them together. Or they try to,
Hmm.
and it's Santa Claus is not specifically a Christian
Well, he's a mixture
like
of
idol.
like multiple like European characters, and one of them being Saint Nicholas. And in America, I think Santa Claus is an American name. I could be wrong. But it just,
I should have done Santa Claus research before this one. I was too excited to talk about the movie though.
I knew some at one point in my life, but it's failed me right now.
But no, Santa Claus, the concept should be a universal thing, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of want it to be. I get like that might be insulting to other people. Like, I'm maybe if you're Jewish, you'd like, I don't need fucking Santa. We got the candles or whatever.
Oh yeah. I mean, like everyone is allowed to have their own thing. You
Hanukkah
don't want
has
it
the
to come
best
across that way.
has the best fictional story about its holiday though, which is
I actually don't know it.
Herschel and the Hanukkah Goblins, which is an amazing story. A little kids book. You never heard of Herschel and the Hanukkah Goblins?
No.
You know what? I think it's because I was raised in a very Jewish community in central New York. So, like, we got all the Jewish holidays off and we learned a lot about Judaism. Like, because, like, they had to do, like, equal time at the holidays. Which, like, there's no fucking war on Christmas, people. We just now include other people's holidays.
Yeah, that's a very conservative mindset.
Yeah.
I some like hard left liberals too, like Bill Maher, whatever the fuck, probably too. But like,
Well, 'cause
yeah, there's no
they know
there's
they'll
no
get
war on like
attention if
that
they're
shit.
anti-Christmas,
Yeah.
But I think, frankly, I think atheists are taking the wrong approach. We should try to claim Christmas. we should try and take it back. I'm saying it now. Christmas is now an atheistic holiday. That's what I'm saying here. And the Jesus stuff is all just a coincidence. But I don't know. It's always a little weird to me, because it just like you're mixing like paganism and Christianity. I don't know. People seem cool with it. Like only assholes seem to have a real problem with it. And I just start having questions about how the magic works.
Yeah, is it like then faith based or something? I mean, it is faith based,
Well,
but it's not the same kind of faith.
Polar Express, right?
Long ago.
But you remember the whole idea of that is that like Santa Claus is a test of faith. Like you can't see Santa until you believe in him, which I'm not sure is a great message
remember
for that film.
this.
It's not good.
Okay.
That's a weird movie.
I just remember the scary ass faces.
Yeah. It's like, why do that?
Sorry, Zemeckis. I still love you.
Redo that in live action and make Paul F. Tompkins the conductor. He'd be perfect. But yeah, like there's sometimes they do that like weird, you got to believe in Santa. You have to believe. And this has a true believer thing in it, but it's not what you think it is. And I actually liked what true believer ends up meaning in the end. But the kids mentioned that they haven't been to church since Dad died. So these kids are suffering from a crisis of faith. The girl never doubted Santa, though, in all of this. She doubted God and baby Jesus, but not Santa Claus.
That's a statement. I love that.
So
they don't really do that. I don't think they really do anything with that, though, right? Unless I missed something.
No, it never really comes up again.
Okay, I just kind of like that that's there.
It's thrown in there, and I think it's just kind of at the end. It's trying to say like, oh, that now that they've got that faith back, they've just got faith in general back.
Yeah, which is also a nice message.
Yeah.
Like, I know you probably don't want to hear me bring up like Serenity right now, which I still
actually
hold
like
as a great
Serenity.
movie. Okay,
Hey, broken clock's twice. I fucked up the whole saying. A broken clock is still right twice a day.
Okay. Well, there's a great conversation between Shepherd Book and Captain Mal Reynolds in that movie multiple times where they're talking about faith, and the captain's obviously lost his religious faith, but the shepherd's just saying faith in like people and the people he cares about, specifically River Tam. And I like that approach to faith. I think that's important to remember that faith is more than just a religious belief. And this movie kind of touched on that in a way. So that was nice.
Hey, yeah. Gotta talk about Santa in prison.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that this is where it was going, and I didn't know that Santa would go full Elvis and just sing Jailhouse Rock.
Well, all right. Before we get to that, can you think of the other films where Santa has ended up in prison?
No.
He ends up in prison in Ernest Saves Christmas, which also has a musical number in the jail cell, but it's not a rock number. Santa just gets all the criminals to start singing Christmas carols. And there's a great moment in that where like the police are like, "Stop saying you're Santa, pal," and one of the prisoners, he is Santa, which is amazing. Ernest Saves Christmas is one of the best Christmas movies. And I believe in both versions of Miracle on 34th Street, he ends up in prison because he assaults a guy. In the original, he just assaults a guy for like challenging him. In the remake, it's really fucked up. The guy's like, "Oh, you like kids, don't you? Don't you?" Like he has like basically implying that he's a pedophile.
Yeah, that's kind of that's not kind of that is fucked
That
up.
is really fucked up. And then Richard Attenborough Santa. Richard Attenborough is a great Santa, by the way. Not a great movie, but he's a great Santa. And I think he hits the guy, which of course gets him sent to prison, which leads to the court case, which is fucking ridiculous, but where they have to prove he's Santa in a court of law. Those are fine movies. But in here, he ends up in prison. First of all, he starts fucking with that one cop, and he does like tons of unbelievable stuff in front of him, like giving him all the toys he wants, and basically saying like, "Hey, your ex-wife misses you. You should go back." And then Santa warns like, "Hey, if you keep me in here, Christmas spirit's going to keep going down, and there's going to be a lot more people in prison, even for Chicago."
Yeah, I was
That was a little-
kind of surprised by that
That was a
line.
little troubling.
Yeah, I
Well,
was like, oh.
Again, Whitey rears
Yeah.
ugly head.
Whitey ain't righty.
Yeah. But the cop doesn't buy it, even though Santa basically did impossible things in front of him. Which the guy acknowledges. The guy's like, "Hey, we frisked you. How'd you get these toys?" But in the prison cell, he meets, he starts talking with the other people in there, and the jail cell starts filling up like he predicted because Christmas spirit is going down. One of the guys in the prison is Steven Van Zandt from Bruce Springsteen's band and The Sopranos. So that's always amazing to see. And because he's a member of what's Bruce Springsteen's band called? The E Street Band, is that him?
I think so.
Yeah, because so Santa's like, "Let's get some music going." And he gets them like, first of all, they go, Santa just realizes like, "Hey, you guys are musicians." And like, "Yeah, but we pawned our instruments because we're broke and criminals." And Santa's like, "Well, I got something here for you," and is able to get them gifts. They never explain why Santa just doesn't pull out like a lock picking kit, but
it's in the moment. It's something I kind of thought of too, but then
maybe the other person needs to want it. You know?
and I think by the end that it solidifies that Santa did do all this to spread Christmas cheer.
Yeah.
And the implications kind of that like maybe every once in a while he does. Christmas spirit comes to people in different ways, you know?
Like every year he does this to like a different group.
Yeah.
Fuck around with them. But so he gives them these musicians instruments, and then he gives another guy a trumpet, and the guy's like, "I don't know how to play the trumpet," and he's like, "Try it." And the instrument is so magical that even if you have no ability to play the trumpet, you'll be able to play it. Which is another nice little touch in this film. And Santa just starts rocking out in this jail cell, getting like women who are implied to be prostitutes and these criminals to all join in.
And you know what? It was lovely.
It was great.
Yeah.
It's what America's all about. And that ends up being enough to kind of convince the cop.
And not only that, to go back to the kids, because on their little B plot where they finally find the sack.
Yep.
That is a funny word. And the little girl goes, "I'm sorry, I'm not a mature man." She
What
needs
is it, sack?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I don't know. It is weird. Like, you don't realize, like, you think, like, in your head, you go, "I'm going to be mature enough to say this." And then you, like, go, "Sack." Just the way that word comes tumbling out of your mouth. It's just the way the sack tumbles out of your mouth. it hits you in ways you don't expect.
You proud of that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the little girl meets Santa's elves and his treasure trove
We should
of
first
all the
mention that
gifts.
she climbs into his bag of gifts,
There you go.
and it's like the TARDIS. It's bigger on the inside. Not only that, it's a whole separate dimension that leads back to Santa's workshop. And that's how Santa can like have all the world's gifts in his bag. And she goes to a place that has like all the Christmas letters, and then all the elves come out, and they're kind of like these kitty cat looking things mixed with like Gizmo from Gremlins,
Yeah,
and,
major Gizmo vibes.
and they attack her. But then they eventually look in the book of true believers, and she's a true believer. Um, and we notice that there's an empty spot for another true believer on her family tree. Her whole family is made up of true believers except for one. Who could that be?
Yeah. But again,
Uh,
it's simple setup and payoff.
yeah. I mean, it's again very simple. It like basically underlines this shit. But like when we deal with so many movies that don't even have stuff like this, it's very refreshing.
Yeah. And by the end, it literally has him underline it.
Oh yes, yes.
So, I just want to say that that was one of the funniest visuals I'd ever seen after all the little elves attack her and then they turn on the camera. Like
Oh yeah.
that just made me laugh so much. That was, I really love that gremlin style, that kind of Krampus,
I
those
got
little trick or
really
treat type
worried.
things.
I got really worried because I was getting some Minions vibes. You know, like I was afraid it was gonna go like they were gonna start like saying like, but like
Oh yeah,
like
I could see that. Thankfully, that
like
didn't even
two
cross my
immature
mind.
25-year-olds trying to say sack on a podcast. It was just gonna get really childish, and I got really worried. But they never they kind of keep like this balance between being like cute, goofy, but also having some sort of like magical weight to them. You know,
Yeah,
and I was glad they kept that.
I'm very glad about how the CG turned out on those because so many we're seeing
Oh
a
yeah,
lot coming out right now where photorealistic CG is kind of gonna be the norm, and I hate
mhm.
it. It's not always bad. I know that there's a lot of commendable work in the industry, but I dislike the look of that. When I want to see animation, I want it to have some sort of buoyancy.
Are you talking about the Detective Pikachu thing?
Pikachu, Lion King, basically like every live action, or quote unquote live action remake, or like adaptation.
Yeah, the Lion
I'm
King
not
one
crazy about it.
is Lion King one is the one I have the most problems with. Um, but yeah, I think we're just gonna have to go through a couple of years of that before people start getting creative with it. But then again, I don't know. Like Into the Spider Verse is like the first movie to be creative with its animation in like years.
Yeah,
Um, it took that long for something like that to come out of computer animated films. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't
yeah,
know. Everyone seems to think realism equals good. Um, that's another big problem with films today. That's
yeah,
kind of why I'm glad that like Buster Scruggs didn't like get that popular. Like, there's a line where like a movie like that can get like a certain amount of mainstream success, and then if it had gotten a little more popular, you would have had a lot of people talking about how stupid it was. You know what I'm saying? Do
yeah,
you remember like all the people were like shitting on Hail Caesar? And like, because Hail Caesar kind of went mainstream because it had such a big cast, and it was like the first Coen Brothers movie in like 2 years.
yeah.
And
I
then,
very specifically remember a lot of criticism being like, "Well, they made a great homage to classic cinema, but they didn't really make a good movie around it." And I always like facepalm, just like, "What the
yeah,
fuck do you think?
but
Like, what do you think Coen Brothers like movies entail?"
that's
I
what baffles me. It's like they this is what they do. Like, they always do this. Like, what are you expecting? It's that group of people that kind of like again. If you don't like the Coen Brothers, that's fine. I can understand someone not liking them, but for people that go around being like, "Yeah, man, I love the Coen Brothers, Bart and Fink, what up?" And then it's just very clear they don't really watch those movies. They just like them because they're told you're supposed to like them.
yeah.
Like it gets weird.
Or like No Country for Old Men. That's one of my favorites.
Mm,
But that's the serious one, and
mm.
it's their most recent serious one, I think. Right? At least that made it like on a widespread like scale. and so
Well,
people
that's
are really
one that
drawn to
has
that
like
one.
there's nothing like there's no like magical realism or like anything in it at all. There's nothing winking in No Country for Old Men. And that might be the only film of theirs that ever did it, maybe other than Blood Simple. Like they've had like gritty films, but never like that gritty, you know?
Yeah.
And because I think Inside Llewyn Davis was a little more grounded, but that also had like a weird setup to it, you know?
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, even just the way that one shot is like so
yeah, that one looks
heightened.
great.
Yeah. Oh fuck yeah. Bruno
And
Delbonnel.
there's nothing more tragic than that image of Llewyn Davis getting off the stage to go back into the alley at the end of the film, and Bob Dylan is going up on stage after him. Because it's like Bob Dylan's about to kill this entire folk scene. Like it's like the apocalypse is happening right behind him, and he's gonna miss it. It's like that's really tragic. It's like none of the awfulness that he goes through or commits is ever gonna be worth it because he's just gonna be stuck in that alleyway. That's a fucking bitter movie, man.
Yeah, it's good though. Real
It's
good.
good. I like it.
Yeah.
That's kind of a Christmas film. There's snow. I guess not really Christmas, but um, hey, check it out. Inside Llewyn Davis. Get the Criterion version. Guillermo del Toro interviews the Coen Brothers on it.
Oh, what the fuck? Oh, now I got it. I didn't know that.
And the Coen Brothers talk about being inspired by the Road Warrior when making Raising Arizona.
Oh, wow.
So it's really good.
Also really good at Christmas Chronicles.
Yes, we're going on a lot.
We usually go off topic when the movie's kind of dull, but this was not that case. This is
This
just
is not, again,
uh,
it's not, this is an hour and 45 minutes, so it's not like, it maybe could have been 90 minutes, honestly. You probably could have
I
stripped a
was
couple
thinking about
things.
that too. Yeah.
There's this whole thing that we honestly don't need to talk about that much, where these criminals steal Santa's sack and they almost burn it with the girl inside and all the presents. And they're just generic criminals like that are willing to kill this kid.
Yeah, like what do they even do?
It's a weird, like it's not like they're a drug operation. We don't really know what they're doing, but they're just generic criminals. I guess it's Chicago. Are they still in Chicago at this point? I don't know.
I think so because actually I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I know that the kids are from Massachusetts. That's why the one is a sinful Patriots fan. But uh you know, then they end up in Chicago. So I guess they're running around Chicago the whole movie. Um, but the elves pop out of the bag and almost murder all of these gangsters.
They beat the shit out of them.
They beat the shit out of them and then come within seconds away from cutting the boy main character in half with a chainsaw.
Not only that, like when they notice him hiding under the desk as he's witnessing like this fucking like mass
He is
assault.
no threat to them.
And they go, "Hey, we missed one." And then this little one just pulls out a chainsaw as the others hold him down.
And that guy is super bummed when he stopped from killing this child.
Yeah. He's like, "I never get to have any fun." And Elvish language is a thing here also in this movie.
Yes.
So there's a lot, like this movie has little spurts of moments like that where it's like borderline surreal comedy, unintentional and otherwise. Like
Yes.
the very first moment where the movie literally takes off on Santa's sleigh, and the little girl like flies backward because they're going like really fast in the sleigh. I like started busting out laughing because this visual of this little girl getting launched just from gravity was the funniest fucking thing in the world, and I couldn't believe that like the movie was just going there.
Oh, it's
Like,
great.
these poor children getting their lives endangered because of Santa Claus.
Well, this movie kind of taps into something that's been missing from modern movies, which is like kids in like real danger. Like that seems to be a thing that happens less and less these days. Or I don't know, maybe sometimes studios are just like a little reluctant to pull the trigger. I was watching Up the other day, and one of the things I really like about Up is that it ends with a crazy old man chasing a child around with a fucking rifle.
Yeah.
So, like I think we need real stakes in children's films.
Yeah, I mean, because we both have said like we don't think society's getting touchier or anything
No,
like that.
I want
when it comes to
to
that shit.
say that I'm definitely not saying that. You have to be insane to think that
Yeah.
with the amount of stuff, with what kids are watching these days. Like Jesus Christ. And I was watching, like, I just think, like, I grew up with fucking Dragon Ball Z, where like people got their arms ripped off. Like, people died on Dragon Ball Z. Like,
Yeah, like a lot.
yeah, that was a regular thing. The whole world got destroyed like twice on that show.
Or even like something more recent, like Legend of Korra. Like
Oh
the
yeah,
first season's villains commit like a double suicide.
oh yeah,
What the
it's
fuck?
crazy.
Yeah, and then a
Yeah.
woman's head explodes in the third season.
Oh God, yeah.
Another
I
one has the
remember.
oxygen like ripped out of her lungs.
Mhm.
So I mean, yeah, there's shit out there.
Yeah, kids aren't being like weakened. They're just being asked to respect more people than other generations were told to. And I guess that's just too much for some people,
Honestly, it appears so.
which is a little tragic, but they'll be dead soon.
Yeah, and we'll take
Uh,
over.
Yep.
Hopefully.
We won't have a lot to take
I was
over.
about to say like hopefully we got more than like a pound of dirt or something, but
You know what? Things are going to be fine. Just like the end of this film.
Christmas spirit's down 35%. Half the planet's not gonna get toys.
So a few brats don't get presents, it's not the end of the world.
People need Christmas to remind themselves of how good they can be.
Wendy, you got so big.
Excuse me?
You know what I mean? Grown up big. Now, Wendy, we need a ride.
Can you call an Uber?
You think I can pay the driver with these?
Imagine if we all work together.
This just might work.
We need to rally the reindeer
Comet? The comet?
and find the elves.
I think I'm in the North Pole. The sleigh's busted. Can you guys fix it?
Everyone finally meets up. We have all of Santa's magical items are together, and Santa's like, all right, we have very little amount of time to do this. We got to deliver all the presents or else the Dark Ages are going to happen. Isn't there a moment where, like, even he doubts that he can do it?
yeah, and I mean, again, this is all in retrospect. He's putting on an act for the kids,
Yes.
but this does kind of lean into where I thought the movie was going to go, where Santa doesn't end up having so much a midlife crisis as much as a crisis of faith in his own, like, in himself, and the
Yes.
kids who have learned to have more faith again end up all helping each other, and that's economical. It's simple. It's
gotta be
delightful to
honest,
see
though.
it.
I have problems with stories where, like, I get a Santa, like, that somewhat becomes disillusioned, but I only seem to buy it in movies when Santa isn't immortal. This is weird. Like, in Ernest Saves Christmas, the main plot of that movie is that he's realized, like, he's out of touch, he can't be Santa anymore, so he's coming to pick a new Santa. Like, that's the plot of that film. And so, like, I'm like, all right, I get that. But, like, I feel like if Santa's been doing this for, like, 500 years, he would have gotten over any trepidation he might have had.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes people can never really grow out of that stuff.
Yeah, but if
That
you're going to be
self-doubt.
Santa Claus, it's your one job is to not lose Christmas spirit. So, like, I don't want a guy who, like, waffles on that.
Well, the scene lasts for like 2 minutes, so
Not my Santa Claus.
start the movement on Twitter.
Yeah, hashtag not my Santa.
Yeah.
That's how stupid you sound.
About what? You mean the movies about space wizards made for children?
Or just like, the idea that a fictional character is yours. I don't know. I mean, I don't understand people. I'm so goddamn tired.
Well, I think that actually taps into what we kind of been talking back and forth on about in this episode, where that generational entitlement about like having to respect other people. That's all about just like understanding and being like having empathy for others. And once you understand that something like that does not belong to you, as very few things in life do, actually.
Yeah.
You have to understand like its place in the world and what it means to other people,
I'm not saying it belongs to a corporation either. It's not like I'm not saying like it doesn't belong to you because it belongs to Disney. That's not what I'm saying.
I love corporations and they're basically people.
Eh,
Please
but
give
I'm
me
saying
your money to
at some
survive.
point things become bigger than you. And at some point it's going to outgrow you or you're going to outgrow it. And that's just something that happens in life. Until we die and then you don't outgrow anything anymore.
That's exactly the purpose of the story in The Last Jedi.
Basically.
That's verbatim. Like that's not even like a personal read. That's the movie.
So maybe the people that don't like it are people that can't accept death. Which I empathize with, but hey, guess what, buddy? It's coming. Sooner probably than you think it will. I've had this eerie feeling that I'm gonna die, like, soon.
That is an eerie feeling, and I hope it's wrong.
I want to say it on this show, though, so then people can say I predicted my death.
Okay.
You know, like John Lennon. Like, John Lennon said, like, oh, I'm going to get shot by one of those loonies. And everyone's like, oh, my God, he was shot by a loony. So that's what I'm saying. I'm on this podcast, I'm saying I'm probably going to get shot by one of those loonies.
Imagine I cut this out, and then you do get shot by one of those loonies.
Well, then you have it, and you can be like, look, Matt Gringo, fucking Mr. Damas, he was right. And then everyone's going to start looking through the episodes, seeing other predictions I made. And then there's the whole religion founded based on these podcast episodes.
The Geringites?
Yes. Future generations will not realize that this podcast is about unity, and instead there will be divisions between people that side with me and people that side with you, and it will lead to centuries of religious warfare.
But as long
That's
as you
actually
keep up the Christmas spirit,
it's a
it'll be
terrifying thought to think that like all culture could get wiped out except like one thing you did. I think about that sometimes.
Now I'm gonna too, and now it's gonna keep me up at night.
Because like the stuff that we have from like antiquity is just the stuff that survived.
Fuck.
Like, we don't know if it was like even the most popular stuff in its day. So it makes me think like, what else were they thinking about then? And how did only a little bit of it surviving change the entire course of human history? So I wonder what sort of world would be created if the Christmas Chronicles was all that survived.
You know what? I think it would actually be okay. Not perfect. I think there would be some issues they need to talk about, specifically about like certain representational issues. Whitey ain't righty.
That might not be a problem in a world that has lost all sense of perspective.
Yeah, maybe the world moved on from racism by then. In 20,000 years.
We can hope.
That'd be great.
That would be nice. It'd be nice to, stop the racism. It'd be nice to, stop seeing Nazis come back every now and then.
Yeah, that's bad. Feels weird that that's a hot take on the internet.
Well, it's like why you gotta be political.
Yeah.
When did it become political to say I don't like the Nazis?
And it's like here, I'm gonna make it simple for everyone. Just think of Nazis as the supervillains of the world and history.
Well, they are.
That's what they are.
I'm not even joking.
So,
Yeah. Hitler is the first supervillain.
And you fucking nerds love your superheroes and supervillains so much. I do too. It's
Maybe
that simple.
It's become such a thing like that now we can't really comprehend it,
Some people don't have that problem, so I don't know. I think it's
because when we write history, it always ends up structuring as in there was a good side and there was a bad side, and the good side ended up winning. Like that's all history. And we don't really talk about like, well, how did you meet people in life that don't ask questions like, how did people think Hitler was right? And I feel like that's an important thing to ask.
Yeah, it's the same people that will always say like, that's just the way things are. That's just the way things are. And don't ever be okay with that.
Yeah, I don't respect people that advocate no change.
Yeah, complacency is not a good thing.
It is not, because if that happens, then we can't save Christmas.
There we go. Bringing it home.
That's not the best way to loop it back in, but hey.
No.
So Santa needs these kids to help deliver the final gifts, and he lets Teddy, the boy, which I probably haven't even said his name.
No, we didn't say their names, but whatever.
Shows you how memorable these characters really are. Like, all of this is about Kurt Russell Santa, I just gotta say.
Yeah.
But he gives Teddy the reins, and Teddy's like about to crash. And Santa reveals, like, look, being a true believer isn't about believing in Santa. It's about believing in yourself. And in that moment, Teddy believes in himself and saves the day. And that's a fine message.
Yeah, I like this movie.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I liked it quite a bit.
I liked it. It was better than it had any right to be. Because I remember like when it was first like announced, everyone was like, "What the fuck?" and and it was honestly it was fine. It was really good for a Christmas movie. It is now added to my canon of films that I watch at Christmas.
I'll say for people that tuned into a Grumpy Cat Christmas a couple years ago, I like that one too.
Mm-hmm.
This is like on a whole other level because I think it actually qualifies as a good movie. Grumpy Cat Christmas is like, you kind of got to be in for that, you know, like you'll know if you like it from the title or not, basically.
Yeah.
This one I think is actually going to surprise a lot of people that end up watching it eventually. If you haven't already, because I actually think people should.
Less than an hour before the sun rises.
Whoa. Let's get this party started. We have a Ram-Theft Auto.
Yeah, you just like wave your hand and Jedi mind trick the cops.
I'm Santa Claus, Teddy, not Yoda.
Okay, that's enough fun for one night.
Are you listening?
Comet, you can slow down!
Come back here! Why must they keep drawing me like that? Does my butt really look that big to you?
All right, well, thank you again for joining me. You can find me at DEWGO Waffles, Waffle Press on Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, Facebook, etc. Like and subscribe if you didn't like this. Like and subscribe anyways because you might find something you do like. So thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and have a Merry Christmas.
And a ho, ho, ho.